Thanks for staying with us. It is still in the game on News Central TV. We're talking sports and everything happening across the world of sports. Now, two-time Danish Tour de France winner Jonas Vingegaard will not compete in any more races this season. His team announced that he's still suffering from the after effects of the broken collarbone he sustained in his crash at the Tour de France. This means that Vingegaard will not be competing at the World Cycling Championships in Canada from the 20th to the 27th of September. The premature end does not prevent 2026 from standing among the most successful seasons of Vingegaard's career. He opened this year with overall victory at Paris-Nice before adding the Volta at Catalunya and then producing the biggest results of his spring at the Giro d'Italia. Vingegaard won 5 stages on his way to overall victory in Italy, completing his collection of all 3 Grand Tours after his previous victories at the Tour de France and Volta the El Spana. Now, it's sad to see that he will not compete again this year, but of course, he's getting ready for 2027 and he wants to come back strong. Talking about coming back strong, Nigeria was not able to finish strong at the FIBA Under-18 Women's AfroBasket because Nigeria's Junior D Tigress lost 77 to 68 points to defending champions Mali in a fiercely contested final. The Nigerian side battled throughout the championship decider and kept the reigning champions under pressure. But then it was Mali that held on and held their composure in the crucial stages to retain the continental crown. The victory secured Mali's 10th Under-18 AfroBasket title and 3rd consecutive championship, further extending their dominance in African youth women's basketball. Despite the final defeats, Nigeria's impressive run earned them one of Africa's 2 qualification tickets to the 2027 FIBA Under-19 Women's Basketball World Cup in China. Mali will also represent Africa at the global tournament as continental champions. Now, the Junior D Tigress will now look to build on their strong campaign and then use the experience as motivation to challenge Mali's dominance in future editions. Now, I've got Arionla Amodu, who joins us, a basketball journalist. Arionla, great to have you with us on the show today. Mali seems to be dominating the world of basketball. We used to think it was Rwanda dominating when it comes to both infrastructure and on-the-court performance. But now Mali is in the picture and they are dominating the under-18 basketball. What is wrong with our basketball, apart from the fact that we don't even have these leagues set aside for these young players?
It's nice to be here. Good afternoon. I just have to say that it's not about what is wrong with our basketball yet. It's about what is it that Mali has been doing that have gotten them 10 championships, has gotten them to consecutive back-to-back finals, and have won them the title that we've not been able to do. You have to look at the fact that before the tournament started, it looks like this set of players were roughly put together. Look at the players that played the last Under-18 Women's AfroBasket championship for us in 2024. That was the first time they got back into the tournament in 14 years. You look at the players that got that final spot for us in 2024, you look at the players that we have right now. You look at the coach we had in 2024. You look at the coach we have right now. You look at the recruitment process. You look at the development structure. You look at the system with which Mali are using to recruit these players year after year. You look at how we are doing our own. Then you get your answer as to what Mali have been doing right, that we've not done right. And I'm not going to say this was a bad outing for Nigeria, because to be honest, getting to the final, yes, getting to the final is what we are looking for. But we're not just looking at getting into the final. We were looking towards getting the gold medal, because coming from 2024, getting to the final, facing Mali, and coming into this year's final once again, we're hoping that once we get here, we're going to get the gold medal. But unfortunately, that was not what we got. But you can look at this team and you can say that they've done something right. Like I said, the recruitment was not properly done. I would not say it was properly done, but you look at the individual talents we have on this team. You look at the expertise of the coach. I think Coach Peter Akindele is one of the best coaches we have when it comes to women's basketball in Nigeria. He won Dolphins their first championship in a lot of years in the last Zenith Women's Basketball League. You look at his other coaching team. You look at how they were able to come together and get us these final spots and finally get us the under-19 World Cup spots. You look at the fact that the NBBF have not done so much in terms of development, in terms of structural development, in terms of recruitment, for us to actually get to the final. We can see that with the Tigers. You look at what they've done with what they have, and we can say that it was a good outing. So yes, we did not get the goal, but this was definitely a good outing for the ladies and for Coach Peter.
Right, we talk about good outings, and the eventual plan is not definitely to compete and be a part of the crowd. We need to go there and assert our dominance and win tournaments like this one, because, when it comes to grassroots basketball, we have a lot of players across Lagos, not just Lagos, now across Nigeria. So what exactly can we really do when it comes to grassroots? Should we go back to tertiary sports, where we get some of these kids from schools competing to pick the best talents from there? Because back in the day, that was how we used to recruit these young talents when it comes to not just basketball, now all other sports.
Just like you said, we have talents. Talent is not our problem, right? Our problem, what I think is our problem, is our development structure and the system and the recruitment. We have to ask questions. These set of players that were picked for this tournament, how were they picked? How are we using the talent pool that we have? The talents we have, does it match Nigeria's, or does it match NBBF's development system? That is going to be the question, because we cannot say that now that we finished runners up, we have to wait to the next tournament before we start playing games. What happens after the tournament? What happens 2 years after the tournament? Or what happens a few weeks after the tournament? What happens 2 months, 3 months, 6 months after the tournament? And what happens 6 months, 5 months before the previous tournament is what I think we need to start looking at in order for us to actually get to where we want to get to. Like I said, talent is not the problem. The problem is that the talent we have does not match the development structure and the system we have. We've always said it. Development structure is the problem we have in Nigerian sports, particularly basketball. You look at the Zenith Women's Basketball League is currently ongoing. You do not want to tell me that among the ladies that are currently playing right now, we cannot get some that will go to the championship and win us the gold medal. Now, this is not me saying that the players that we took to the championship are not good enough. Trust me, the players that went there are some of the best we have in this country. But then how much did we look into the wide talent pool that we have? What was the recruitment process? How many players did they look at? How many places did they look at to get these players? So like I said, what happens after this tournament, what we are going to do before the next tournament is going to determine what we are going to do by the time the next tournament kicks off.
All right, talking about the next tournament, and before I let you go, the elections will be happening pretty soon, and there's been a lot of clamor for a change in the bodies right there for NBBF. There's also the call for the NFF as well, because crisis is actually going on with football in Nigeria. So I'm wondering, where do we put our hopes on? Where are we going to get success from in our sports? So what would be your best advice? Because there's this case of every tournament we get to see new players. If perchance we get a new governing body in the NBBF, it just looks like we're going to get a fresh crop of players. So what would be your advice to the administration?
Okay, so in terms of getting new players, one thing I'm an advocate of is continuity, because I feel like when you continue with a team that gives you success, there's a tendency you get success again, right? They say if it's not broken, don't fix it. Sometimes you need to fix it. But then you also need continuity. Like you said, there's crisis, not just in football. There's crisis in basketball. There's crisis in Nigerian sports generally. What I will say right now is that whether we have a good administration in basketball once the elections start or not, whoever is going to be in charge needs to be the person that understands that this is what we have, this is what we can use, and this is how we can use it. And I genuinely do not think that if the new administration comes in, we are going to have different crops of players, because FIBA is just 16. Majority of the players that we use this year, they are 16, 17, which means that in 2 years, some of them can still participate. And like I said, you look at the Zenith Women's Basketball League right now, we have players who are good, who are probably under 17, which means that by the time the next tournament comes up, they'll be ready, they'll be willing and ready to participate and to play for Nigeria. So whoever is going to come in the next administration, they need to understand that continuity matters. And I genuinely believe that as long as Coach Peter Akindele remains the head coach of this team, we're going to get continuity. So yes, continuity is the ultimate goal for Nigerian age grade basketball right now. That is one way we can actually get to what we want, where we want to get to, not just continuity, proper development, structure, and system.
Thank you very much, Arionla, for your submission right there. Continuity is very important, and also a proper development structure for these young talents. With that, we can actually get progress and major success and score major points in the world of sports out there, not on the continent alone, but across the world as well. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate you, and we will look forward to having you again.